Okay, so if you saw the live summonings for this event, you'll know I was really excited for Kurohime. Specifically because, in my opinion, this character made Sigurd look like such dog shit. It is no secret that I hold no love for Sigurd, even though I have him Bond 10. He feels like one of the clunkiest units you can possibly be using. His skills can be burned in one turn, like not at the same time, because you can't crit in the same turn you do all buster cards with Sigurd. Another thing. But yeah, Sigurd doesn't feel good to use in like sustain stuff. He doesn't really have skills that you can double stack with Koi and Skya, and like none of his skills actually will last that long in a sustained fight. You are basically having your supports carry Sigurd throughout the challenge quest or the boss fight. Kurohime, not the case. You can also compare her to Yagyu, in which case I do think she is a very strong reason why he got buffed, because when I checked their base damage, no buffs, and again, this might have been an attribute thing, but no buffs for either of them, and they do about the same damage. So she has buffs that last for 3 turns. Yagyu has buffs that last for 1 turn. Again, if you know my how I like playing this game, you'll know I'm gonna prefer this character even over Yagyu, despite his awesome MP buff. This character sets a different stage. So let's get started. 9.7k base attack. This is definitely like a very good starting point for a 4-star. It's not 4k, but there aren't that many 4-stars that are pushing like past 10k. HP 11.8k. This is definitely closer to the midpoint than on the higher or lower end, but I would probably say it's closer to the lower end. Star weight, star gen, normal Saber numbers. MP charge is healthy at 0.62, especially when she's going to be roided out on Castoria buffs or like other just arts buffs in general. You're going to refund like a lot from these cards. 4 hits on quick, 3 hits on the 2 arts, 2 hits on buster, 5 hit extra attack. Like, again, for refund, not terrible. MP quick even, it might not get you like full your MP, but you'll get a decent amount of stars to crit on. And okay, yeah, also for a lot of people it looks, no, it's not even okay, like she kind of looks like Semirami's, but doesn't look as bougie as Semirami's. I don't understand why people like on JP like strongly dislike her, but there's a reason she hasn't gotten a lot of buffs, and people are thinking it's like just because people don't like her. Not the case with Kurohime. Yeah, like they have a similar like kind of face, and like it's a lot of it's probably the hair or something. But yeah, no, I like the aesthetics for this character a lot. First skill, dodge to attacks 3 turns, 15 stars per turn, MP damage for herself 30%, and then if you run her with a serpent or dragon ally, 30% MP damage. This character not only has more staying power than a single target DPS like Yagyu, she also has strong multi-core potential, but mostly for serpent and dragon allies. Now dragons, they're exactly who you'd think. They're servants that have like either part dragon or dragons very involved with their lore. She's single target. You'd ideally want to use with an AoE, Really big thing to note though, Oberon is here, so if you want to take advantage of the other dragon stuff in her kit, Oberon is either going to be your wave clear, or he's going to be like your other support for multi-core. Instead of running double Castoria, you bring in Oberon. If he clears the wave, or he's like kind of there to stop. The way his MP works, you can't use him with Kurohime. Like, unironically, Yagi would be a better combo with Oberon because like he has Invul Pierce, and Oberon can just like AoE soften, and then Yagyu could just pierce. That depends. If anything, the dragon thing with Oberon comes later in her kit. But for multi-core DPS, you have Ibuki, Summer, Vitra. I'm trying to think like good multi-core combos, and so like I'm kind of avoiding Buster on this. Melisande. Yeah, I can see Melisande only because she's like really self-sufficient when it comes to charge. Like she has an 80% charge. Like whenever Melisande needs to MP, she's gonna MP. Like she doesn't need the help. Yeah. But that's just dragon. This also includes serpents. So serpents are just snacks. These are snack servants. When you go into Twitch chat and a character shows up on stream, and people start spamming snack, those characters. So your Ibukis, your Shutens, and your Medusas. But Kurohime is also here. Vitra and Ryoma. Cats, but only rider cats, like, because Cuckoo does not count. She just acts a lot like Cuckoo. She's not same origin. And then Asclepius here because the symbol of medicine has 2 snakes on it. Like, and it also has to do with him. Like, you see it in his gameplay. Alright. Oh yeah, Cleo's here only for her stand though. Her stand apparently gives her the power of the serpent. Alright, second skill. 30% arts, 30% quick for herself, 30% crit damage for herself, and 30% crit damage for serpent and dragon allies. If you're doing multi-core, again, but you should be sticking to serpent and dragon allies for the other DPS. Not necessarily your support, although Oberon helps for the third skill, but again, it's not needed. It just makes her gameplay more fun. Okay, so this part of the skill, a lot of people are not gonna like this. Kadroth straight up said, like, in his review of Kurohime, that this line of skill with conditional taunts are annoying for a lot of people, and the last character that had this was Yang Guifei. Just quoting Kadroth directly, because I wanted to watch something on the way home. For me personally, I don't mind this so much, mostly because you're pretty much only using Kurohime against dragons. Mostly. It's like any other single target arts DPS probably would be a little bit better. Like 5-star DPSs. Like you would probably use them against non-serpents than you would against then you'd bring them against serpents when you have Kurohime. But yeah, Kurohime is supposed to be fighting serpents and dragons based on her anti-trait. So her getting this taunt does help her other DPSs, like say Summer Ibuki, but you're probably not worried about multi-core if you're going up against a boss fight, because it's probably Kurohime is the main DPS. This does keep your supports from getting hit, but also a lot of dragons have AoE attacks, so I don't know how effective this actually is. Like, if you look at, like, this part is more important if you're fighting like dragon serpent servants than they are like the actual enemies in farming. Like, and in farming you shouldn't be lasting on those nodes that have these enemies too long enough for a taunt to matter. Like, at that point you're not farming, or you're doing bong greed stuff, which I do understand this one more, but you would not use this again in the second wave. You would wait till turn 3 to use this skill anyway. Yeah, actually, specifically speaking, that node, every single enemy there is a serpent or dragon. So Kurohime is like best use case there over even like Sigurd, which again we're getting into later. But ignoring this taunt part, which may or may not get buffed in the future, this character is permanent, by the way. Thank you, Kadroth, for pointing that out, because I definitely did not notice that when I made the first take of this on Wednesday. But yes, this character is permanent. So another dragon killer that isn't Sumanai, but now I have an actual single target DPS that I would use, because before I was more than happy to use Sumanai as my single target DPS if it's against a dragon that's like Lancer. I would choose him over Sigurd just because his Sumanai's kit just works better. Like, it stacks better with Koyanskaya, number 1. Number 2, he's not carried by Koyanskaya. Like, his skills will actually last longer than 1 turn. Is there 100% synergy? Absolutely not. But he works better with Vich than Sumanai. I mean, than Sigurd. There you go. Sumanai works better with Vich than Sigurd. Even for crit DPS. But now we have Kurohime. So, debuff immunity 1 time 3 turns. Awesome. You really want this for single target DPSs. Healing per turn. This is a weak 1000, but it's not nothing. 30% battery base, and then a 10% battery based on the number of serpent or dragon units on the field. This counts enemies on both sides of the field, but you also have to remember these are not 2 individual procs. If a servant has serpent and dragon, it's only 1 line of this. You only get an extra 10% battery. But again, this works on the enemies on the other side of the field too. Very similar to how Kazura Drop's battery works, where depending on the number of Sakura faces on the field, you get a bigger battery. Obviously, having serpents on the field and dragons is a lot easier than having other Sakura faces on the field. One is significantly more likely to be happening than the other, so it makes sense why Kazura Drop's battery is more free with how many you need on the field to get the full effect. But yes, at most this will turn into an 80% battery, but you're very, very unlikely to get it that high. Although, again, if you're fighting 6 enemies, that number goes higher. But in general, 2 other servants on your side, 3 on the enemy. If all of those are servants, this is an 80% battery. If you have 6 enemies and they're all serpents, that is base 90. So you only need 1 more serpent or dragon ally on your side of the field to make it 100% battery. Again, very unlikely. This is an art servant, so this is an art servant. You don't need battery like that, unless Kurohime is going to be like the DPS that is just like farming the entire node. Like, yeah, like you wouldn't be bringing her. Like, I'm talking like you actually using Kurohime and you're just spamming her MP enough to like clear the field, not using her as a single target DPS. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, this character, I do like their skills. I like them a whole lot more than Yagyu, even with the serpent or dragon requirement. I'd rather she have that and anti-trait than not have this stuff and not have an anti-trait, right? Like, Lasagna has been getting way more creative with their characters, and I am definitely all for it. Passives, 17.5% debuff res and 6% quick. Again, she has pretty decent quick cards, but this isn't the highest buff, but a card buff is still a card buff. I will take them. If you're using her as a single target crit DPS, which she has in her kit, but it's not like it's fully supported, I would probably look into bringing Lady Avalon or Popus Johanna. Either one of them would help your crits just in general. Mana loading just makes things a lot easier for battery situation. Skill reloading, again, mostly for Tamamo, but for Kurohime as a single target DPS spamming against dragons, this one does make a lot of sense because you can loop the skills back like you were using Mitch with her. Like having 100% uptime on Art's character skills is a very different feeling from having 100% on Buster. One just like Art's 100% just feels better because your servants are just always buffed, while Buster is burst damage. MP, 5-hit single target Arts. Gives yourself evasion for 1 turn, ignores defense for a turn, arch res down 20% for 3 turns, and super effective against serpent or dragon enemies. So at base, this niche is better than Sigurd because Sigurd is only dragon, while this character gets 2 different niches in the same super effective mod. I don't think they were gonna make this 2 separate mods. That sounds really dumb considering more than 3 of these serpents are also dragons. So giving this character 2 super effectives just doesn't sound like a good idea. Like, this is a 4-star. If this was a 5-star, I could see them actually making 2 different super effectives, or making 1 super effective and the other power mod. I definitely would not have enjoyed either one of these becoming a power mod. 100% I wouldn't have enjoyed it. Because having both here gives you a wider net. Having one be super effective and one being power mod also means that like Black Rail is diluted in the buffs for how much of a difference it makes. Yes, it makes your face cards better, but at the same time, you could just use a crit buff and it would get you like the same results. Bond CE, power mod against Serpent or Dragon by 10%. Party crit damage up 20% while Kurohime is on the field. Just going to Sabers real quick. Sigurd, base MP damage 55,000. Hitting Dragon 83,000. Remember, he only gets that 3 times if you don't use his Buster cards. Otherwise, he's reliant on your support's Buster buffs to make Sigurd do damage. So his MP is a lot more unusable unless you have Vitch, and even if you have Vitch, you're still gonna have problems using his MP multiple times in a row. Like a huge problem, because you're gonna have to do card refund for that. And if you crit on your arts or quick card, you're losing damage on your Buster card. That I don't think people understand why exactly I don't like Sigurd. It's because the crit buff you can use up on your arts cards, and now your Buster crits just do less damage. It is 100% on those on Sigurd's first skill for the 3 times crit damage. If you are doing Buster crit with Sigurd, why would you want to waste them on an arts crit? Yes, I know the refund, it makes it so he can spam his MP, but why are you, like, Buster crit does so much more damage than arts crit. This is a fact. You're using Koinskaya to buff up the Buster crits. Not being able, having to choose between refund or having damage is stupid. Yagyu, his kit is 1 turn buffs, all of them. His only way to ramp up his damage is his MP. But now the issue is that Kurohime has that same thing on her MP, and Yagyu is only here because he got an MP buff. Kurohime MP buff, and she's already over here. So, and Kurohime is a permanent, so they're more likely to buff her in the future than Yagyu, who has also gotten multiple buffs already. When I tested Kurohime's damage at base and compared it to Yagyu, I went into Chaldea and just both of them just MP'd, no other buffs. So it's like you pop the command seal and they just MP'd. They do about the same damage, while Yagyu has 1 turn buffs, while Kurohime has 3 turns. So even from an art standpoint, Kurohime is a better art spammer. You would get more damage consistently over the course of 3 turns, when Yagyu, one of his bursts is a card buff, and that is oversaturated in arts. Kurohime, yes, she has a card buff, but she also gives herself MP damage, which just works better in Castoria stacking because Castoria does not give MP damage. Then comparing her to Sigurd, at MP3, her MP damage matches Sigurd. Am I saying you need MP3 to be better than Sigurd? No. This part is a case where her being an art spammer, an arts servant, is just playing to her benefit. If this list is only caring about MP damage, then an art spammer that has a lot less problems getting to her MP to use it would pull ahead than a character that literally can't use his arts card if he doesn't want to suffer a loss of damage. Sigurd, I have said this multiple times, Sigurd needs more than 2 buffs to fix him. They gave him a very, very shitty skill 2 buff to the point where they didn't fix enough. It's like you tried to balance his skill. Why didn't you just fucking do what you did to Arthur? Real quick, before because we're pretty much done talking about this, or Kurohime. I just want to make this last point about why I dislike Sigurd. This skill, if you crit on your arts card, your Buster crit is not gonna get this 100% crit damage. 3 times, 3 turns, guts, and it was a cooldown reduction. The skill was shitty from the start. It was a 1 turn mana burst on a 7 turn cooldown. It didn't matter that there was a guts here. This was a very shitty mana burst. And how they buffed it when Arthur, I'm pretty sure, got a skill buff that gave him 3 turn Buster before this. Sigurd would be so much better, and he still needs a battery too. So they're if they buff this skill again, they're gonna make it OP in 3 turns straight Buster 50% and then slap a 30 battery on it. That's what they should have done in the first place. Even at that time, it wouldn't have been so cracked. It wouldn't have been broken because this crit damage skill still wasn't functional. MP buff, I don't have a problem with. I think this was a really good MP buff, to be fair. But Sigurd's skills fucking suck. His 3rd skill is debuff immunity and star gen. Like, this should be buffed too. I don't understand how a character that comes out like right around Scotty has the same flaws of year 1 servants. Even if like it doesn't have the main flaw. Oh, look at this also. Kurohime and Sigurd actually have the same MP gain and the same crit, like arts crits. Their refund would have been the same at base anyway. So it's like Kurohime is a more spammable Sigurd. If we're talking like both of them using face cards and getting regen, they would be about the same. And neither one of them has a arts card buff in the passives. So yeah, my disdain for Sigurd comes out of me wanting him to be more lore accurate. Kurohime, I'm willing to give up that dream if Lasagna does not like Sigurd for some reason. They make the guy fucking badass. Like, he is literally letting his wife kill him multiple times so that she doesn't kill anyone else in Chaldea, including the master. Like, that is one hell of a fucking taunt. And Sigurd just loves Bryn that much that he's willing to go through that shit. Like, I like Sigurd as a character. Don't get me wrong, I do. It's just that it's really shitty gameplay. And I can't recommend someone to like say, oh yeah, you should probably go for Sigurd, when you say that, sometimes people go to pity. I can't tell someone, yeah, go to pity for Sigurd. Out of any SSR in the game, he is the last one I would ever say that for. When it comes time to revise tier list, I'm actually probably going to move Sigurd down into do not use, and Yagyu might get moved down too. But that is a different conversation. Yagyu deserves his place on the list more than Sigurd does. But that is going to come down to a different analysis. All right, peace. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you enjoyed, drop a like or sub. Hope to see you in the next one. Peace.